Today I'm down at Pantai Duyung just to give a bit of an update on what's happening at Pantai Duyung. Have a bit of a walk along the southern part of the path, south of the Hyatt Regency. So I'm going to go for a walk down there, show you where some coffee spots are, especially in the early morning hours where there's not so much open. Well, anything south of the Icon Mall, there's not a lot open, to be honest. And I'll show you where the spots are. I'm standing on the deck directly in front of Jalan Duyung, and that little deck there, that's La Playa. The high tide is still a good 2 hours away, so you can see that water's going to be really high up by the time it gets to high tide this morning, because it's a very, very dark and stormy morning. I could see that you might have a big storm whipping through even by the end of this video, maybe before the end of this video, so hopefully that doesn't happen. So let's talk about some of the places you can get a coffee for starters. At this time of the morning, which is just before 7 o'clock, you can't get into La Playa, but you can get into Seagrass, which is next door here. They do coffees and pastries. Pretty popular place with the crowds that go on the tours across to, well, go diving tours, snorkeling tours, go across to the islands, and that sort of stuff. They can get loaded on down at the beach here. So that's pretty popular with those folks. Walking down south, we get straight into where all those cafes and restaurants were ripped down. Oh, good 6 months. Oh, 6 months ago now. That's when it started happening. And it's still just like that. I'll just peek over the edge so we can see. Like there's no progress at all. And sadly, what's happening is that part of this area here where all the decking is and all that is sort of getting into a little bit of disrepair. A lot of the glass panels have been, well, they've disappeared. All the boards are starting to, one by one, get either removed or damaged or whatever. I'm not saying they're being stolen, I'm just saying that, you know, over time when you're not maintaining something, it starts to decay. That's what's happening down here now, which is a little bit sad. I would have hoped by now there would have been some action on whatever's going to happen over there, but yeah. So this restaurant and cafe section down at Pantai Duyung still hasn't had any activity. What was interesting is that I did get a message some months ago from one of the former restaurant owners. I got a message from them saying they know exactly what's going on. They were a little bit unhappy about how it happened, but they did say that the intention was to build a park down here rather than some sort of beach club. That's what they said. I mean, they're probably the best informed person that I've spoken to so far. I've had a lot of people guessing that it's going to be a beach club, or a water park, but that's what it's like now. That's the old Lila Pantai sign, which used to be right there. That was a great little cafe. If you'd never been to Lila Pantai, it was just a fantastic little outlook on the beach here. Good food, good coffee. They do have a sister restaurant called Lila Warung. That's very good as well. Like, the food's very good. They're in the back streets of Sanur. Just Google it if you want to go and get a good sort of higher end warung meal. That's a really good one, Lila Warung. I was reminded when I parked my motorbike down at Pantai Duyung there of a previous time that I parked my motorbike there and had my helmet stolen. And it got me sort of thinking about how safe Bali is, and is it really safe? Mainly because I've been seeing a few things online recently about people saying that Bali's unsafe and all this sort of stuff. And I mean, it's difficult to know empirically what the story is from statistics, because the statistics on crime aren't really accurate here. Mainly because most crimes don't go reported, especially petty crimes like helmet thefts and that sort of stuff. You just would never hear of something like that being recorded. But I know that Pantai Duyung is an absolute hotbed for theft of helmets. Like, if you leave your helmet unattached there, and it's a half decent one, at least like say a $40 one, like that's how much you can get a decent helmet for here. It's going to be stolen. Mine was stolen, and I had it chained. I had an actual chain on it, and someone came along and broke the lock. They broke the lock, busted the lock open, and then got my helmet and drove off with it. In a video I recently did on Jimbaran, you would have seen Dr. Juni there that I spoke about. She's a dentist. she was having dinner with us, and her helmet down at Jimbaran was stolen. She left it on the bike. So it happens a lot. And then also we have things like break-ins or burglaries of villas. I haven't really heard of too many of these happening. You hear of them from time to time, probably as much as I used to hear of them in Bandung. So from that point of view, it's sort of like anecdotally, you'd say it's probably the same sort of, I don't know, safety level for break-ins as it would be in somewhere in Java. That's what it feels like. But having said that, we're not in Canggu, where I think there's a lot more of those villas where you get, if you just jump a wall, you're in someone's house, you know, whereas in Bandung, it's not like that. People would cage their houses in totally. In somewhere like Bandung, you have iron bars on the windows. Like our house is like a fortress, even though it's not that really a dangerous a place, we'd have it like a fortress. Whereas in Bali, people don't generally do that. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a few more break-ins here. Just going to have a look at this little area down here. That's a nice little area to view the beach from. Back up there is that's the Intercontinental. And then I guess the next thing I want to talk about is bag snatching. I know bag snatching, like it happens here. It's not common, but a mate of mine, his wife had her bag snatched in Sanur, and it wasn't recently either. It was 15 years ago. So you can see that even if you're thinking back in the old days, it's not really the old days, is it? But like even if you go back 15 years, which is quite a long time ago, people were still getting things robbed off them back then. And it still happens today. I mean, you need to be sort of like a little bit aware. You can't be totally sort of flashing your bag around like, you know, or your phone or whatever. You've got to have a little bit of wits about you like you would anywhere. But aside from those minor incidents, it's a fairly safe place, honestly. I think if you go at night into some places in back streets of Kuta, they can get a little bit rough, like, you know, because of that nighttime crowd and the bouncers and all that sort of stuff there. But I mean, seriously, I don't feel that it's that dangerous. I guess maybe that's because I haven't had much really happen to me. The only thing that's happened to me in Indonesia, really, I think, I've been robbed once on a bus. I mean, it was pickpocketed. That was in Java. Had my helmet stolen. I haven't had a heap of other stuff happen, really. This is another coffee spot here. It's called Naked Baked. That's open early. This avocado place is not open yet, but it opens fairly soon from memory. And then the next one, we're at Pantai Semawang now. The next one that opens is this one down here, which is called Stuja di Pantai. This is a really popular spot, primarily with locals. Really, really popular spot. And that has a great outlook. So if you sit over there, out towards the beach, that is a really good outlook out over there. I really love that sort of aspect of it. Interestingly, on top, they've got a little, look at a pool up there. I don't know if it's still operational, but they've got a little pool up there. And I don't think too many people know about it or use it. Getting back to the safety issue, a lot of, so I was talking about how I feel about the place. But that brings you to the point of perspective. Because we don't have crime statistics that are too accurate, we have to get into perspective. Oh, they're doing a bit of a clean up down here, look at that. A lot of rubbish has washed up into that little corner there. The government's there trying to pick through it all. Yeah, a lot of crime here is about perspective and whether you feel safe or not. And a lot of my local friends would say that they feel much safer in a place like Sydney than they do in Jakarta or Bandung in Java. Whereas when I first moved to Bandung, I felt like, you know, Bandung was the most safe place on earth. I felt I could go out at any time of night and be totally safe. And it sort of was borne out by the results. I've never had an issue or any negative sort of things happening to me late at night in Bandung. And would it happen in Sydney like that? I'm not sure. I guess the thing about Sydney is that you probably would choose the places that you would go to at night. You would actually avoid certain places. because you know about them. Whereas in somewhere like Bandung, because you're not really that familiar with it, you may not avoid the dangerous places. You might just accidentally not go there. It's interesting because depending on your perspective, you really have a different view about crime. And in Bandung, I felt it was extremely safe compared to Sydney. And someone like Susan and most of my Indonesian friends would say that Sydney's safer than those places. They feel much more safe to get on public transport at night, for example. Just coming along this bunch of warungs. These warungs don't open that early, generally. There's one open here, but they're more like a lunchtime type of scenario. Lunchtime, beers, that sort of thing. So at the moment, there's just that one open. And I would say that that's pretty rare as well, because most of the time that place when I go past is not open. So yeah, you wouldn't rely on getting something here. If you're going for a walk and you need a drink, you wouldn't rely on this being your stopping place. And it's now been quite far since Stuja. Well, far, a few hundred metres. And the next place is quite a long way from there. The next place that you can sort of stop, like a warung or a coffee shop. I've actually been injured for the past couple of weeks, so my Achilles tendon has been really sore. I haven't gone to see anyone about it, which is pretty typical for me. Yeah, really, really sore. I did it when I was playing paddle. It sort of started off with a bit of a strain, a bit of tightness. And of course I played through it, ran on it, like I thought it should be okay. Because you know, when you start warming up an injury, sometimes it feels okay. Took a few anti-inflammatories and it was okay. But the last time I played paddle, I really, really went intense on it. And well, predictably, it got worse. And it's quite sore at the moment. It's actually on the mend, which is nice. I can walk a little bit more freely at the moment. I was limping the past few days. Even when I did those videos back in Dempster, I was actually limping around. The camera might have been doing these bobbing motions like that as I limped down the path. Apparently there is one good physio in particular here in Sanur that you can go to. A friend of mine that went to him said, oh, you've got to go to this guy, he's excellent. I still am not at the point that I need to go to a physio. Well, I probably should have done, but I'm not going to, because I'm a bit stubborn like that. We're coming up past now the Puri Santrian. Puri Santrian, bit of class, this place. People love it. People love it. A lot of the viewers of the channel really love that place. Nice big pool, nice outdoor eating area. Just a fantastic hotel. A little bit more pricey than some of the backstreet hotels, but yeah, you know, it's got a reputation. It's been here for a very long time. Reputation of being a good one. It's now starting to sprinkle just lightly, it feels like a massive storm's brewing, to be honest, because that wind is so strong, the waves are pounding in. I just wanted to show you up here a little bit about a different perspective I've been experiencing recently, which I know a lot of you probably already experienced, but this is just sort of to show you. I suppose if you love the beachfront path but you don't get your feet sandy on the beach, which is me, you're missing out on a whole lot of really nice things. Oh, that rain's coming down a bit heavier now. When you walk along that beach, you get a much better perspective, or a different perspective, of this beachfront area. It's fantastic to walk along the beach, and it's also fantastic to walk along the path. And if you can mix that up a little bit, I think it really makes a difference. Well, that rain's coming down heavy now. I better get under some shelter here. Just before that rain hit, I was going to say, I've been sitting out on this little pier or whatever it is that goes out into the ocean for the past few days because of my ankle being a bit sore and not being able to run. Susan's been running. I've been just sitting here for half an hour with the sun shining, sun rising, watching the beach, watching the waves roll in. And because the weather at the moment here in Bali is quite cool and windy, it's been absolutely beautiful just to sit there. Just sit there really still with the wind blowing across you as the sun rises and watching people go about their business. Very peaceful, relaxing place just to start your morning. The rain is still falling just a little bit, but it's just eased slightly. And I thought I'd take the opportunity to get going once again because I'm going to get trapped here otherwise. It looks like the rain may have set in for the day. which is a little bit unusual for the dry season. We are bang in the middle of the dry season right now, and it's been quite wet. It has been raining most days, which is quite unusual. Sometimes in the dry season, you can go a month without any rain, not even a drop. And this wet season, it's rained most days. Not every day, but almost every day. And often it's only just like a little bit of a sprinkle overnight, and it hasn't had any effect on your daily plans. In fact, most days it hasn't been really having any negative effect. It hasn't been that big a deal. But today it looks like it's a little bit more set in. We're coming up to the Playa now, which is another massive hotel. A bit old school, loved by families because of the massive pool area. They've got a pool which has like a big bucket which tips onto kids when they're playing around in the pool. They love that. The breakfast area is massive. It's a real sort of old resort feel, you know, but people love it. They love it, that sort of family resort feel. I've never stayed there, I've never been inside, so I can't comment, but I do know that it is a little bit old school. I don't mind that so much as long as it's good. You know, like sometimes you get these old school places which, even though they feel a bit tired, they still feel good. If it's like that, I love it, you know. I don't mind it if it's a little bit tired, but it's when it becomes a little bit sort of a bit crappy that I don't like it, because sometimes when you get an old and tired place, it gets poorly maintained as well, and I hope that that's not what this place is like. As we move further south, we're getting into the Rip Curl School of Surf, which is about 1.5 kilometres south of Pantai Duyung. And we're also coming up to the beach, which is a little cafe down here, which is the first one really that you can go to after Stujadi Pantai, probably 800 metres away. This is a really popular place, actually. They do have a spa and an ice bath and a sauna there as well, which I haven't seen too many people using, but the cafe certainly is a really popular one in the mornings. And as we get further south, we're quite far south now. There's only one large hotel left on this path, and that's the Mercure, just a little bit further along. And out the front of the Mercure Hotel, there is a restaurant called the Genius Cafe, or a cafe called the Genius Cafe. And that's really quite popular. A nice little beachfront spot, good coffee. That's definitely a place that you can check out for coffee. And then along from there, another 300-400 metres, you get to the end of the path, and that's where there's those satay warungs and places you can have a little sort of 3-in-1 instant coffee as well. This is also an area where the beach is quite wide, and there's a large sort of concentration of dogs around here as well. They like to run amok in the morning. I don't think they're too aggressive. They like to bark, and this one's having a bit of a jump up and down. If you like your dogs and you want to be one of those people that feeds the dogs and looks after them, gets them their rabies shots and that sort of stuff, this might be a good place to start. Although I think they're pretty much under control, to be honest. Most of the dog people down here know which dogs are which, but they could always use help with, you know, especially donations. Like they do have to pay for a lot of stuff down here as well. So any help is sort of appreciated if you want to sort of help with the street dogs down here. That's the view back down to the south, where the Mercure is just there, the Genius Cafe is just there. And then if you look further along, you get down to Pulau Serangan, which is that little, there's a temple there, and they're trying to do it up to a new tourist area and that sort of stuff. And there's a lot of surfing that goes on offshore over there. Dogs are going crazy. Well, the rain's starting to come down again now. I'm gonna have to get stuck back in. I'm gonna have to get back inside, get away from those dogs. Thanks for coming along for the ride today, and thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all things Sanur and the rest of Indonesia. I'll catch you next time.